Chair Shot Reality, we are all over the place. Of course, you can go to WrestleZone.com, click the WZTV tab. You can go to the Chair Shot Reality YouTube page. You can go to WrestleZone's YouTube. You can go to Chair Shot Reality on Facebook, on Twitter. Shorter clips are uploaded there. We are everywhere. I am Justin LeBar, being joined once again by my co-host since the very beginning down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Josh Eisenberg. And Josh, we saw the return this past week coming out of an ambulance. It's ironic because if you see the flashing lights behind me, there's an ambulance right here on Wood Street. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's Braun Strowman who's going to pop out, and hopefully Pittsburgh gives him as big of a pop as the audience did this past week.
Braun! That's the way you do it, Justin. If you didn't see part one, see the lackluster performance from Justin LeBar doing Braun Strowman. But, I mean, what a pop, Justin. What a pop on WWE Raw for Braun Strowman, a guy that is beloved now. And this is rare because these wrestling fans don't love 6'8", 370-pound guys. Justin, I rarely say it, but you're right. You were right about Braun Strowman. I know, it sucks. I hate it. I hate saying you're right to you, but I will say this. One of the questions that I think a lot of people are wondering, that huge reaction, that huge ovation, can Braun Strowman be a babyface?
I think he can, and this is very weird because old school wrestling logic, or not even old school, just basic fundamental wrestling logic is, big guys are meant to be heels. The Giants are meant to be the fee-fi-fo bad guys, and it's hard to get sympathy on them. But we've also seen that trend eventually bucked. A lot of the big guys will make their debut as heels, but they eventually do evolve. Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, pretty much Great Khali. Every big guy has usually started as a heel, but they've been able to evolve their character. We've seen that in a microcosm with Braun Strowman, but of course the wild card is that his primary opponent, after squashing a million people, his primary opponent has been the polarizing Roman Reigns, who has the John Cena split crowd effect. So we really won't have a better way of knowing until after Roman Reigns, and whether that's a Brock Lesnar, whether that's whomever, you can pick the entire Raw roster. We'll have to see. It's almost, I don't think this is by design, but it's almost like Braun is so over the top so over the top screaming Braun, so over the top with his real life freakish strength, and even so over the top with what would normally be critiqued by the IWC as a guy who can't talk, but yet when he just speaks in these short, giant fragments of "I'm not done with you," people, it seems to get over. So who knows? Wrestling is weird. The weirdest things stick against the wall. This might be a babyface in the making who doesn't pander to the crowd, but he's just cheered. I don't know. It's weird, but I love it.
And that's what the fans love now, Justin, is a guy who doesn't necessarily pander to the crowd, but proves himself in the ring. And like you said, I mean, the "I'm not finished with you," attacking Roman Reigns obviously is going to get a crowd reaction. Obviously is going to get the people behind Braun Strowman. I don't necessarily know if he needs to be a babyface, though. Let him be Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar does, he has Paul Heyman, so that, that's a little bit different. But Brock Lesnar has been booked like a heel, like a face. He's been all over the map since his return. So let Braun Strowman do that, because I think whenever you see, which I hope is foretelling the future, with seeing Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, or even adding Roman Reigns of some sorts, Braun Strowman needs to be Universal Champion sooner rather than later. They need to put the title on him, because if he continues to lose match after match, it's going to have to take a longer and even more in-depth feud with Roman Reigns to keep Braun Strowman getting this crowd reaction. It's going to be interesting to see who they pair after Roman Reigns and after Brock Lesnar with Braun Strowman, because if you put a guy like Seth Rollins or Finn Balor, you're going to get those IWC fans turning back on the more talented, faster, athletic, agile guys in the ring over Braun Strowman. That's just how it is. That's just how people think these days.
Well, those are all great points, and you're right. Maybe he does need to be more like a Brock Lesnar. I've been very much in favor of having seen him versus Brock. I was saying this prior to Mania. I wanted to see him versus Brock. I wanted to see, I'd like to see if Brock Lesnar is going to go away. We always hear his contract's coming up next April. If Brock is going to go away, there'll never be another Brock Lesnar. But if there's ever going to be anything close to it, maybe Braun's the answer. I always talk about how there's a fence. There's a heel side and a face side, and whether or not the lines get blurred, you're still booked on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. But maybe Braun Strowman just picks up that fence and chucks the fence, and he walks across the whole damn yard. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And one thing I'll bring up, I said it to you as we closed out the last video, talking about after Roman Reigns, after Brock. What about another 7-foot guy? What about a Braun Strowman up against a newly christened heel in a Big Cass? Something, that might be something that, Big Cass completely tears down the audience, completely rips the audience apart, doesn't want any of their pandering, and Braun just continues to be Braun. That's something right now on paper I would love to see that.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. And given the time with Big Cass, potentially being a monster heel that we're hoping he is, he could work well with Braun Strowman. We've seen Braun Strowman work well with a lot of different guys, a lot of different sizes as well. Ironically, the best guy he's worked with has been the longest feud in Roman Reigns. I mean, they had some great matches. Payback was really good. Seeing Braun Strowman and the physicality that he possesses. But like I said earlier, Braun Strowman needs to be Universal Champion. He needs to be the guy that's the face of the show, because if he's not, he's going to go down on the wayside. And I fear that because you know how fans are, Justin. They're going to love you for 2 or 3 months, and then they're going to bitch and complain, and then the next new flavor is going to come up. And there's a lot of other guys as well that I think on Raw could be Universal Champion in that big, monstrous way. I mean, you could see a Bray Wyatt potentially getting back to that level. I mean, hell, no doubt Roman Reigns is going to be Universal Champion again. What about Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, all of these guys? But at the end of the day, they have to focus on the one guy that is getting the most reaction outside of Roman Reigns, and that's Braun Strowman, week in and week out. There's no changing that.
Josh is down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm here in the Point Park CMI studio in Pittsburgh. I'm the Lone Wolf. Speaking of which, next segment we'll talk about the Lone Wolf, who is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder over on SmackDown Live. Are you okay with that? And over under on how long he's going to hold that briefcase before he makes his move. That's what we'll talk about in the next video here. Chair Shot Reality. Follow, share, like, comment,